Hi guys, today it's the day that 15 years ago a big hero of mine passed away, Michael Brecker. Michael Brecker had a huge influence on my life, and you can see that on the channel as he's covered. Probably he's featured one of the most times along with Paul Desmond and Eric Marienthal, and that's no coincidence as those three are the most influential saxophonists on me starting from my teens. I want to give you a bit of a backstory to how Michael Brecker had this influence on me because it was huge. It might be fair to say that there wouldn't be a Sharp 11 music channel ever if it wasn't for me stumbling one day on this. It was a blogspot website. Yes, I'm a millennial, so this is around, I guess, 2006. Really, before YouTube was really a thing. I don't know how I got onto there. I think somebody told me there weren't that many websites that had videos on them yet. So I was really happy to see, I think I actually managed to get there because somebody said it was Candy Dulfer's Lily Was Here that was on there, which I might take, and I went on there and I know it had Candy Dulfer's Lily Was Here, but kind of on the same row with the videos. There were a few more videos that I clicked with saxophonists. One of them was Herbie Hancock, I think live at Newport with Wayne Shorter. To be honest, I didn't really like that so much, the soprano playing of Wayne Shorter. Back then I think I was 14 or 15 years old, around that age. There was Chick Corea's Electric Band with it was just the theme of Got a Match. It was just a small video which blew me away. So Eric Marienthal was directly a big impact as well. And then there was the Brecker brothers live at MT Fuji. And there were two videos complete, I think. One was some skunk funk and the other was Sponge. And that alongside with this little excerpt of Got a Match from the Electric Band was life-changing for me. I watched those videos and I remember really being awestruck with why was there a kind of accountant in a Hawaiian shirt playing monstrous solos on the saxophone in a fashion I had never imagined before that. I was just, completely blown away and completely hooked. And I went so many times back through a Google search and then the right blogspot to that website. It was this website that really made me wanted to become a saxophonist. That was what I wanted to do. I wanted to do, to be able to play cool saxophone solos, burning saxophone solos in that jazz rock fashion, and jazz and both rock and all those combinations that jazz musicians made, and especially Michael Brecker would appeal so much to me from then on. I actually had, and that was unbeknownst to me at the time, had heard Michael Brecker before without realizing it. There was another instance that I was really loving the saxophone, which was my brother Gary, who was 2 years older, and he was at that time playing a lot of Dave Weckl etudes with a play along that featured a saxophone. The tune was called Garden Wall, and he practiced that with a loud, backing track in the basement, and I would go sometimes just down to listen to that awesome tenor saxophone that was on it. It was totally epic, the sound, the solo that was on it. It was so amazing. It was quite, I think, a few years later that I kind of tied that was both the same saxophonist of that Dave Weckl play along thing my brother was doing, and the saxophonist I ran across on that blogspot. So, I went down the rabbit hole, really totally inspired, and I went basically on the web, always searching for more on the Chicory Electric Band on one side, and Michael Brecker and the Brecker brothers on the other side. And one of those next things that I got my hands on was Michael Brecker with Chicoria, those two together, and that was quartet number 1. And again, this was a complete, I had never heard something like that before. The sound of that composition, to be honest, at that time I didn't really like it, but I was somehow, really hooked to what all was happening, and that solo that was on it, that was something I really liked. Not necessarily the melody at that point. No, by the way, I do. I really love the melody and the chords and how everything works in the complete song. But back then it was only the Michael Brecker solo that was, amazing, totally amazing, and that energized me really to dive into the saxophone so much. And then YouTube, really came onto the scene, and people started dropping all kinds of videos and stuff, and that was a next chapter into my Michael Brecker experience, having a profound impact. So I did really know that I wanted to do that saxophone thing, but then there was this video on YouTube called Strap Hanging, Michael Brecker and Randy Brecker with the WDR big band playing arrangements of both some skunk funk and strap hanging, and that really opened it for me. Both solos were so, I cannot describe it. It was too good to be true. I was really into it. I was starting to take jazz lessons on the school I was in. That was actually in high school. We had some, combined program that we would have mathematics and the languages and everything you get in normal high school, along with a lot of music lessons. And I did jazz saxophone there, and we had to do this kind of little small thesis in the last year of high school, and everybody could choose a theme, and I went with Michael Brecker and fusion jazz. That's actually what I made. And I still remember, there was this website made by Louis Gerrits, a Dutch, Michael Brecker know-all, a beautiful website with so many things on it. But then it was not really so common to send big files by mail, so I asked him if he had anything, for the research of this thing, and I'm so grateful until this day. He really sent me, I live in Belgium, which is a neighbor country, but he sent me DVDs with so many articles and so much information, which was a gold mine, really. Thanks for that, Louis. So also alongside with that little thesis, it was really small. I was 17 at that point, I think. I started to transcribe that strap hanging solo from the performance with the WDR big band. And it was, to be honest, horrendous. It was, I had quite okay ears, not the best ever, but not the worst. Probably a little bit better than average, but that was it. And then I went into this project, which was, my first transcription, and it was obviously way too hard, but I kind of got stuck on some bars, quite a lot of bars that were really fast, but I had to really grind it and really made my way through it in the end. And I wrote that, all with the hand. I have that somewhere. I just found that I had that somewhere. I just see it now. I couldn't remember, but I did that first in C apparently. So that looked like that. Really terrible handwriting. And then I transposed it on another different sheet, also by hand, a little bit better. I guess that was, so I could, start playing that. Yeah, that was probably the first little hint towards what I'm doing now with the YouTube channel. And needless to say, it took me so much time, and there was a point in the solo nearing the end. I think I didn't transcribe the last 16 bars or something because there were some loud big band backings, and I couldn't really separate the saxophone line from the big band anymore. So then the most stupid part of that whole idea and little thesis came. I would go and try to play that solo with a band. What a great idea in hindsight. So no, it was a good idea. I cannot really remember. Somehow I could make my way through, probably pretty clumsy. There are no recordings of that, which I'm glad of. But I did that when I defended this little thesis in front of a jury. I still remember I got a question about what the recordings of Michael Brecker and Klaus Ogerman were about, which I couldn't answer at the time. No, I can't. Oh, it's so great. But there was another teacher who asked me to do that on a concert where many students would perform on a quite big stage, to do that with another band of student musicians, and a couple of teachers would play along. And that was a quite horrendous experience because, you know, there was a teacher who actually played another instrument, but he played a bit of bass, and he would go and play bass, and he came to me and he said to me, yeah, but it's all right. Like I practiced it. It's just a blues in D minor. And I remember that comment didn't make it any better. You know, I got even more stressed because I thought, like, that's not really a blues, though. You know, you can say a lot about the tune, but no, it's not a blues. And then it was a really good drummer that played along, but the keyboard player, we just did once a rehearsal right before it, but the keyboard player who was a student, and I don't blame him, he didn't play anything at all. He just stared at the sheet music and he didn't play something. So I hated to do that, but I went to one of the other teachers and I said, like, there's no chords happening there, you know, maybe somebody else should do it. And then I actually asked my brother Gary, who was a drummer, but he could play some 2-5-1s with, you know, with simple voicings, and he came, you know, to do that on the spot, which was a kind of lucky thing because then the actual performance took place. I counted in, we started it, and the drummer, who was a good drummer, but he was, you know, rushing it a bit, and I could barely even play that solo, so he was even rushing in the melody, so I was really sweating it. I mean, it was probably 500 people in a quite big place, and I was already so stressed for that solo, which I barely could just tie together without just having to stop, and then we were even speeding up. Luckily, my brother was on the piano playing the chords somehow, and just he noticed what was happening and trying to calm down that drum teacher to. And what happened from then on, I started that solo, and to be honest, it's completely blank. I somehow made my way through. I know that afterwards people thought it was cool, but I don't know what happened. I made my way through. I kind of deleted the solo section from my memory. Sorry for the long-winded story, but that's how much Michael Brecker had at that stage of my life such a big impact, and he continued to do so. I only went, you know, I remember I needed to know every album there was. It was opening up on the internet. It was becoming easier and easier, and you know, I went to go to all his solo CDs, which I loved. The album that sticks with me from his solo albums the most is probably Time Is of the Essence. I really, really love all the tunes. Also Pat Metheny on it, the drummer Bill Stewart. I really dig his playing there, and Michael Michael Brecker's playing is so great. And then there was Steps Ahead. Love that as well, as I naturally really tend to like most fusion stuff, especially by Michael Brecker. And there are so many favorite recordings from that point on, which you can see on the channel. There are, I think, around at least 15 transcriptions, and there are so many more that I want to you know, uncover just what it is that Michael Brecker kind of broadcasted that appealed to me, because that's what for me transcribing is about. I just want to know myself better. It's like first you just intuitively say like, wow, that's cool, that's super cool, but you know, I'm a saxophone player myself and I just want to know what it is that triggered me. Is it something rhythmical? Is it something melodical? What's the abstract concept? And I actually never went with any transcription like, that lick is cool, let's do that in 12 keys. It's really more the language that I want to understand, and sometimes it's also not rhythmical or melodical. It's the energy, which can be in different ways. It can be in that Coltrane way of Michael Brecker-ish, you know, energetic playing, or it can also be this really playful but soft playing like he does, like in Strap Hanging. I think that's such a great solo. I'm referring to the WDR big band solo by Michael Brecker. It starts so open, and when the groove starts, he plays in this super poppy way, but so expressive through the range. He really makes a lot of discrimination in expressiveness there in the first 4 to 8 bars of that groove section, and then he starts to become more animated, and it's just a roller coaster. It develops and develops, and the intensity grows, but it's all levels of intensity and phrasing, but that's for another video on how I think about transcription, which is totally not just like, oh, that's a cool 251, let's learn that in 12 keys and try to implement it on any tune. I could literally go on about Michael Brecker forever, or what I like about him, and so many recordings that I absolutely love. But this is maybe enough for this video. I really want to do more analysis videos on Michael Brecker, dissecting that. The only thing is that I need to find the proper time to really make a bit of a script and to do good recordings, and then afterwards to have a nice edit to really to put it into a nice graphically looking video. Let me know what your experiences are with Michael Brecker in the comment section below. Do you have similar experiences, similar like catalyst recordings that really, you know, turn something on in inspiration in you? I would love to know that, and there will be plenty of more Michael Brecker content on this channel. I promise you that. Until next time.